NNPC confiscates 55,000 liters of petrol, decries adulteration of the products.
This will continue not only in Abuja. You could see just Abuja and environs that will have 5 illegal stations.
Nigeria Police Force signs Memorandum of Understanding with Nigeria Immigration Service to strengthen Interpol activities in the country. "126 inmates in various prisons regain freedom, courtesy Presidential Committee on Prisons Reforms and Intervention. On Good Morning Nigeria today, we will continue our review of major issues discussed on the program in the outgoing year.
It is the tradition of Good Morning Nigeria to reveal major issues discussed in the outgoing year.
Blessing, you're absolutely right as always, and this year is not an exception as we started the review yesterday of some of the editions.
You're right. No doubt the year 2017 was full of activities and occurrences which captured the attention of the NTA's flagship program, Good Morning Nigeria. This includes the issues of the Nigerians and slave trade in Libya, the Joint Admission Matriculation Board cut-off matter. Also, we took a look at state of Nigerian education, force majeure by the distribution companies, otherwise known as DISCOs, and the spate of kidnappings.
Yes, Blessing, and aside from excerpts, we will also, or we have also assembled some, we did assemble some victims who had experienced certain nasty situations to share with Nigerians to serve as a lesson or deterrent for those who want to venture into such acts.
Exactly, Ruda, because, you know, each time they talk about some of those things, you still find people actually saying, well, they were not so lucky, or perhaps theirs will be better.
Yeah.
I find people still venturing on such perilous journeys. So, on today's edition of the program, which is the last for the year 2017, we will bring the second and concluding part of the end of the year review.
And that's the outlook on Good Morning Nigeria today, and we are live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, Africa's largest television network. I'm Rhoda Anonam.
My name is Blessing Abu. I also joined Rhoda to welcome you to the program. It's the last one, like we've indicated, so we hope you'll find time to actually join us, tweet. At least we should even find time to actually appreciate some of those notable names that we have come to recognize with the tweets as they come.
Yeah,
from
definitely.
time to time.
And of course, because it's a review, lots of issues we're looking at this morning. The JAMB issue, the slave, the slavery, Libya, and all of that. So we hope that our viewers will be a part of it, and of course, send in their tweets.
Well, let's get your tweets and let's get your other reactions. Perhaps any of the editions that you will have seen in the course of the year. If it's not along this one we have lined up, but you find them very interesting and you want some other things in the new year, just tweet at us and definitely we'll look into such suggestions from you. Well, in the course of the program, we'll also bring to you a companion segment, which include the newspaper review, the business report, sports, foreign, as well as entertainment news. But right now, let's kick off with the news, and Ogwa Vivian Oyediba is our guide. I'm sure you're looking forward to the countdown to 1st of January, Ogwa. What are your plans?
I'm definitely looking forward to 2018 Blessing. Good morning, Rhoda.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to the news. 55,000 liters of petrol diverted to Bassa and Sauka villages on the outskirts of Abuja has been confiscated by a combined team of the National Petroleum Corporation, the Department of Petroleum Resources, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. Group Managing Director of NNPC, Dr. Mekan Tibaru, decried the profiteering adulteration of petrol at the expense of citizens. He assured the people that the scarcity will end in a couple of days.
Not only in Abuja, you could see just Abuja and environs that will have 5 illegal stations and that have been discovered. And there are many more stations we believe that we rely on good Samaritans to report.
And still on the fuel scarcity, the Senate President Abubakar Bukola Saraki has directed the Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream to cut short its vacation to find lasting solution to the lingering fuel scarcity bedeviling Nigerians. The Chairman Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream, Senator Kabiru Marafa, stated that the Minister of State Petroleum and the Group Managing Director of the NNPC have since been invited to appear before the committee on the 4th of January 2018 to explain to Nigerians why the scarcity has continued.
The Minister for Petroleum, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, and the Group Managing Director of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. Mekan Tibaru, and other stakeholders to appear before it on Thursday, the 4th of January, to address the committee, but Nigerians in general, to the measures they have taken. You will recall that the committee had before now, that is before the recess, embarked on a nationwide tour of petrol stations in some parts of the country. The committee regrets the hardship the scarcity has exposed motorists and the general public to, and urge for more patience as new strategies are being mapped out to end the scarcity for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Meanwhile, the Chairman Senate Committee on Works, Senator Kabiru Ibrahim Gaya, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for the genuine efforts at redressing the infrastructure deficit in the country, describing it as unprecedented. Speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari, Senator Gaya is particularly elated with the roads revolution drive across the country for enhanced socio-economic development.
For the last 16 years, that was able to put so much fund on road projects, this government of President Muhammadu Buhari. You know, the budget of 2011-2014, it was only 26 billion naira for works. But the 2016, when President Buhari came in, we had a budget of 200 billion plus for works. Now we have a budget over 400 billion. And for 2018, it's about 500 billion. So I've gone around to 26 states of the Federation. Remain, I think, Southwest and 3 states in the Northwest for me to visit. But actually, I've gone through all those projects. We see what projects are going on. In some places, there are issue of payments, but contractors President have already ordered for contractors to be paid.
Senator Gaya thanked President Buhari for approving over 155 billion naira for Abuja Kaduna Kano Road project. And talking security now, as part of its interagency collaboration towards combating crime and protecting lives and property of the people, the Nigerian Police Force has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Immigration Service to strengthen Interpol activities in the country.
To avail each of these agencies a veritable platform to access and share critical crime-related information using the organization's system of international notices, populate Interpol database.
Has created the conducive and enabling ground for other critical security agencies in Nigeria to key in.
126 inmates in various prisons with minor offenses and option of fine have been set free by the Presidential Committee on Prison Reforms and Intervention. This is in line with the Federal Executive Council's directive to the Federal Ministry of Justice to fast-track the decongestion of prisons in the country.
It is also noteworthy to mention that the Federal Ministry of Justice will host a stakeholder summit scheduled for the second quarter of 2018 to fashion out a permanent solution to the interruptible problem of congestion in our prisons.
The Chairman Senate Committee on Information, Suleiman Adokwe, has commended the federal government for the efforts to digitalize the broadcast industry. The committee members also commended the achievements by the Nigerian Television Authority on the project.
But by West African and even African standard, we are way ahead of many of our countries. So I don't think there's any cause for alarm. We will work hard and make sure that we switch over these things in every city as we go along.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, says it's shocked by the news of the involvement of President Buhari's son, Yusuf Buhari, in a power bike accident. A statement signed by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Kola Ologbodiyan, states that PDP as a family is praying for Yusuf's speedy recovery. The statement further notes that reports from the presidency that he is in a stable condition is reassuring. PDP also appreciates the concern of all well-meaning Nigerians for their prayers for Yusuf and the first family. Well, that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back with Blessing and Rhoda after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
Is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Commercial bus drivers in some of our major cities are daily subjected to this trend.
Give me your money. I'm the staff. I'm a uniform man. I'm a first man.
Is this a right or a privilege or sheer arm twisting?
Driver, if you say we not go see anything take chop to do, because na social staff and award and World Cup full this bus.
Alas, how will they earn daily bread if we all get our bus rides for free? Staff and award. Another rib-cracking episode of Professor JAMB comes your way this week to make you think and laugh like never before. Keep a date with us.
I want to know the kind of staff we will be. Police staff, army staff, or criminal staff, which one will be?
Special unit.
Special unit.
We got...
Hold on.
Over and out. Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network. Glow Unlimited.
The time has come for Nigeria to take her rightful place in world sports with the first national grassroots sports festival to discover and prepare sport talents and develop future world champions for Nigeria. The festival date is 3rd to 10th March 2018. Venue is the National Stadium, Abuja, packages A and B. This is the opportunity for you to promote your brand through the festival. For broadcast sponsorship, which include live broadcasts, highlight shows, and TV fans show, contact the Chairman, Chief Coordinator, Angelo Peter I. Elosia, or Nick Onishi Organizers, Grassroots International Sports Academy and LOP Worldwide Television. Endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. Broadcast partner, NTA.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
All right, you're welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. We'll bring you up to date in the world of business as Nigeria's Export Processing Zone Authority licenses 3 new free trade zones to attract more foreign direct investment and create jobs. Plus, JP Morgan fined $2.8 million for improper safeguard of Nigerian security. So get more details now from our business news correspondent, Joy Uzo.
Compliments of the season. Good to have you join me on Business News. Nigeria Export Processing Zone Authority, NEPZA, has licensed 3 new free trade zones in the country. The new free trade zones are NASCO Town Free Trade Zone, Quit Aviation Services Free Trade Zone, and Tomorrow Free Trade Zone. NEPZA, in a statement, says besides netting over $2.751 billion in foreign direct investment inflows, the new free trade zones are targeting direct jobs in excess of 50,000. A breakdown of the free trade zones revealed that NASCO Town Free Trade Zone, which is valued at over $2 billion, is estimated at completion to provide 15,000 direct jobs. Quit Aviation Services Free Zone, valued at $215 million, is estimated to provide jobs in thousands, while Tomorrow Industrial Park, which is located in Lagos, is valued at $450 million. JP Morgan Chase & Company has paid $2.8 million fine to the United States regulator, Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, to settle charges that its broker-dealer unit, JP Morgan Clearing Corporation, lacked sufficient controls to safeguard customer securities from several countries, including Nigeria, for more than 8 years. FINRA cited as examples how the improper safeguarding of Nigerian securities for nearly 4 years and Italian securities for 2 years created deficits of $120 million and $146 million. Reuters reports that the U.S. regulator said that JP Morgan Clearing Corporation created hundreds of millions of dollars of deficits by violating the U.S. rules designed to thwart the improper combination of assets. The regulator said the violations occurred from March 2008 to June 2016 and stemmed in part from defective electronic systems that JP Morgan inherited from Bear Stearns Cause, the investment bank it bought in May 2008. Finally, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, says that a total of 9.2 million passengers passed through Nigerian airports in 140,552 aircraft movements between January and September 2017. A statistics report from FAN in Abuja on Thursday revealed that 6.38 million domestic and 2.8 international passengers passed through the airports during the period. The data also showed that 110,220 domestic and 30,332 international flights were operated across the nation's 22 airports during the period under review. It further revealed that 4.6 million passengers arrived in the country in 70,680 flights, while 4.5 million passengers departed in 69,872 flights. The total cargo movement during the period, according to FAN, stood at 128.37 million tons per kilogram. The statistics indicated that 86.11 million tons per kilogram arrived in the country through the airports, while 42.26 million tons departed during the period. A look at the 4 major airports in the country shows that Murtala Mohammed Airport's domestic and international wing recorded the highest passengers and aircraft movement during the period. That report does it on Business News. Many thanks for watching. My name is Joy Uzo.
All right, thank you very much, Joy Uzo, for the business news update. Time now for us to actually take a look at stories that made the front page of some of the dailies that we have this morning. Newspaper review is up next.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Teribi is in the studio. Good morning to you, Bayo.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Blessing. Good morning, Rhoda. And good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning, Bayo, and it's good to have you here.
Gentlemen of the press, if I recall.
Yeah. And,
yes, thank you for noting that. In our profession, there are only gentlemen.
And of course, it's the last for this year. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, let's look at the dailies we have with us this morning. We have the Daily Sun. I've got the leadership, and Blessing, you have the New Telegraph.
Yeah, I have the New Telegraph. I have the Punch newspaper, and also Blueprint.
And the stories, the major stories, that's the headline. And most of on all the papers are kind of different, and none is actually saying the same thing. But let's begin with...
Except for the fuel situation.
Yes, the fuel, yes, it's on all the papers. It's on all the papers. Let's begin with the Daily Sun. On the Daily Sun, well, it leads with Nigerian elders to Buhari, sack your cabinet now. Nigerian elders to Buhari, sack your cabinet now. With riders Yekasai, Junaid, Ozekome, PDP, Eze, others set 2018 agenda for president. That's a story that's on page 12, and it is the lead story for the Daily Sun. Let's quickly move over to the leadership, and the leadership leads this way. Miners oppose removal of mining from exclusive list. Leadership, the Nigerian leadership, the lead story says, miners oppose removal of mining from exclusive list. Is the story that's the lead, and it's on page 6 with riders. It says 6 import duty waiver on equipment and welcome establishment of national mining council. Those are the stories leading for the Daily Sun and the leadership. Blessing. Okay,
quickly now, let's take a look at the New Telegraph. I'll go just towards the foot of the page. My interest is that of the fuel situation that we talked about. We paid NNPC 90 billion naira, but got no fuel. This is coming from marketers. And 2 riders, DPR dispenses about 57,000 liters free to motorists. And also Senate summons Kachuku and Baro. More details on page 3. Still on the fuel situation, the Punch leads with a paper. Fuel scarcity deducts 27 billion naira from $2 billion you owe us. Marketers tell federal government. Senate panel summons Kachuku Baru and others. More details on page 25. I think still on this fuel. Blueprints. Blueprint just below the photograph, which incidentally is linked to the fuel situation too, as the commuters are stranded at Gwagwalada-Giri Expressway due to fuel scarcity in Abuja yesterday. That's the photograph. But now below the photograph, you have Senate moves to unravel forces behind fuel crisis. Summons Kachuku, Baru, others.
Yes, I think the initiative by the Senate is to put an end to the bickering between the marketers and their regulators. Yeah. The Senate, in its wisdom, the President specifically has directed that the Senate Committee on the Petroleum Resources, particularly the downstream, should reconvene immediately, cut off their break and resume, and they will be resuming on January 4th to invite the NNPC chief executive as well as the marketers to try and put their fingers at the problem and find a permanent solution to it. However, the leadership has critically evaluated the problem, and he says that the consequence of what we are suffering now is an interplay of economic forces of demand and supply. How did he go? He sums it. He says the landing cost of petrol now is 171 naira 40 kobo, and the private sector, who import 80% of the petrol, will not double into it because they don't make any profit by so doing. And now NNPC, that is the importer of last resort, only imports about 20% to supplement, is now the only one supplementing. And what are the challenges that are ensued from that? They say that this is costing NNPC about 52 million liters that is required in a day. Is going to cost NNPC 1.352 billion by way of additional payments, aside from what it imports. And in a year, it's going to be about 493 billion naira by way of subsidy. But federal government says there's no subsidy. And the leadership has provided solutions. It says, what has become of the long-term plan to get the refineries to work? It says that the only solution to import-laden petrol, which is what we are suffering, is one, to get the refineries to work, and secondly, the initiative to get the private sector to invest in modular refineries. That is, we will produce what we consume locally, and that will eliminate that. So
some of the questions we actually put through to the ED downstream when it was here on Tuesday. Why will the refineries not work? If we say we are a major producer of oil for the world, why would we still find ourselves in such a situation?
Yes. Anyway. And the other danger there they point out is that the private sector involved, the DPM and MOMAN, they got about $600 million from Central Bank. And what they did was to import aviation fuel, diesel, and kerosene. Why? Because that is deregulated. There's no fixed price for that. So they can sell
at any price, at their own price.
The challenge now is the fixing of the price. And if you go back, the time the price was fixed at 145, that was May 2016. The crude oil at the world market was $35 per barrel. Now, it is at $65 per barrel. So it's purely arithmetic, economic arithmetic.
Well, it has to be worked out.
Yeah,
it has to be worked out.
All right, let's move now to other stories. And there's a story I find quite interesting here, and it's good. That's on the leadership, and it's just above the list story. It says Nigerian stock markets amongst world top 5 performance in 2017. Nigerian stock market amongst world's top 5 performers in 2017. And let's move over now to the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun, the election in Liberia is also trending on most of the dailies this morning. And the picture story on the Daily Sun is that of a Liberian president-elect, and that's George Weah during his campaign as presidential candidate. You know, it says ex-footballer George Weah elected Liberian president, with the riders garner 61.5% of votes to defeat vice president in runoff. And Jonathan commends Liberians for peaceful polls. And talking about former President Goodluck Jonathan, he is on the picture story of the leadership. And he's there, that's former President Goodluck Jonathan and some other officials there who monitored the election. Who monitored the election in Liberia.
That's great news. The same Liberian's story is on the front page of the Punch. So where is Liberia's president-elect Drogba Olise Taribo before he hailed ex-football king? Footballers leap to presidential palace.
Maybe some of them someday will throw their heart into the ring for the presidential race.
Who knows?
Well, not just the presidential race,
never say never.
In their states and, you know.
Well, George Oponwe has led the trail now. His history is quite encouraging and challenging. He rose from the slum of Liberia, and today, after the tenure of Ellen Johnson, he's going to occupy the mansion in Liberia. He scored 61% of the 98% of the votes that were cast. But the good thing is that while he is the first African to have won the Footballer of the Year, he's also going to be the first footballer to grow from the football pitch to be a president. There is a contrast on the Daily The Sun. Is talking about playing tough. Do you have the Sun there?
Yes, it's here.
There's a story
and it's
about
on page 30 and 31 of the Sun. It's at the foot of the paper on the right-hand side. It says it's a special report. It says football pitches in Nigeria puts play at risk of cancer.
Yes. I was alarmed and I had to read that story. And he's saying that the playing on artificial turf exposes players to injury, particularly spinal cord injury. And he has identified, the expert there has identified 2 types of artificial turfs. They say there's a one that is what he described as rubber turf, and it's just purely synthetic. Okay. That is the one that he says can make people prone to cancer. However, he said there is one that is produced by geotechnology pitches, and it is made from coconut fiber and cork, and that is as good as a natural grass.
All right,
affordability is your question here.
That's but let's quickly take a look at other stories trending. This one is on the leadership. It's on page 46. It's just on top of the paper. It says Nigerian airports record 9.2 million passengers in 9 months. Nigerian airports record 9.2 million passengers in 9 months. A story that's on page 46. Very quickly, the Daily Sun. A story that's also trending on the paper. It says Jubrin, that's a suspended rep member at Aso Rock, and meets Buhari. All right, Blessed.
I have other stories too. One of them is the lawmakers, the suspended lawmaker also meeting Buhari. For the blueprints, let's go to the foot of the page. The raft of stories that attack on children in conflict zones, shocking. This is coming from UNICEF. More details on page 39. Suspended lawmaker Jibrin meets Buhari. You find more details on page 6. And still on page 6, you find, of course, the story we've taken earlier. That's about the ex-world footballer, where as a Liberian president-elect. Then PDP scheming return to steal. This is coming from Fayemi. Page 6 will offer you that detail. Katsina to recruit 5,000 NCO holders. That story is trending on page 9. Interesting is this story. Female IDP obtains first class in Islamic studies. And just at the foot of the page right now, you have MSc holders seek primary school teachers job in Kaduna.
That's good. Talking about the airport, about 257 Nigerians came from Libya again yesterday. And if you look at the records, between January and December, you have had 6,672 deportees coming from Libya alone back to Nigeria. However, the NEMA is now advising them. They are seeking their cooperation to identify the traffickers. And the Director General of NEMA is saying that only information given will be treated in confidence. And he has also advised that the scare they give them that there will be consequences from spiritualists is false. And
that story just beside the earpiece of the Punch. 257 more Nigerians returned from Libya. Alleged theft of savings. So they actually had some.
All right, Bayo,
the other sad story.
Okay.
Yes, at Suleja here, there was robbery. Suleja is very close to it, and you have a gang of 30 robbers taking a community that is known as Plaza, and for over 2 hours, they blocked entries and were going from house to house and robbing. You remember something like that happened at Lapai? And this is coming at the fringes of Abuja. That is very, very alarming. You recall that the police said of recent, the robbers along the highway were routed. Apparently, they have found their way into the precincts there.
All right, thank you very much, Bayo. That's the much we can take on the newspaper review segment. Thank you for coming. I'll see you again next year.
See you next year.
Interesting.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. And of course, earlier on, we told you that today we began a review yesterday of some of the episodes we had, or some of the editions we had on Good Morning Nigeria in 2017. We'll continue after this break.
The whole team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? No. They are spread through germs, which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath, bath, bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
everyday air. Ordinary air. And then there's TomTom Air. There's air, and then there's TomTom Air. What are you breathing? New TomTom 5-piece pack.
Clorox chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
It's that time of the year when we appreciate all those that mean so much to us. Our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses, and above all, you. Our esteemed viewers, together we made 2017 great. Together we shall make 2018 even greater. That's why we say thank you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, the Made in Nigeria campaign. In the midst of unprecedented multiple challenges, our great country Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, is surely marching on to a new era of all-round prosperity, especially through re-engineered and diversified economy, powerfully driven by the change agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR.
We will patronize local entrepreneurs. We will promote the manufacturing powerhouses. Our objective is to make Nigeria a new manufacturing hub.
It is not time to complain. It is time to join the campaign. It is time for economic recovery, growth and diversification of our economy. By Made in Nigeria.
All right, it's good to have you back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. Yesterday, we began a review of some of the episodes we've had this year on the program. Some of them great episodes, touching episodes, and today we'll continue. And we'll begin today's review with the Nigerians and the Libya slave trade. Well, on today's episode and on this segment, you'll get to hear Sadiq Adeyemi. He's also known as Mr. Planner. We'll get to hear his experience when he went to Italy through Niger Republic. Mr. Planner is now an anti-trafficking campaigner. His story is so long and touching. The journey began from Lagos to Kano and Agadas and finally birthed in Italy. What is Mr. Planner's experience from Agadas? Let's get to find out.
I embarked on the journey, you know, that night we were on the desert. We were on the desert, we were covered on the face, we were on the back of the halos. And the funniest part is that I believe every one of us have seen the way the journey is on social media and everything like that. We are not even sitting in the halos, we are sitting on the stick. because the hillocks is already full with loads. So you just have to shoot some stick in the hillocks, and you have to sit on that stick. Like your bomb is outside, you just have to be yourself. And if you fall, and one thing I can hear from those people, like they speak Arabic. They don't speak English. They speak little Arabic. So me being a Muslim, I can understand little of the Arabic. They're trying to tell us that if you fall, you're on your own. No one is gonna stop to check you. So I just have to be strong and focused. So we embarked on the journey. The next morning, we were stopped by some customs, and I think they were trying to settle the customs on the desert there. They're trying to settle them, and then later we were asked to go. It was very cold. It was January period, 2015 January. Very, very cold. Everywhere is cold. We can even see a lot of people, shivering. When you even turn your head down, you can see a lot of water coming from your nose, but you have no choice. You have to keep going. So on the fourth day, we get to a certain point where we were blocked by some armed robbers on the desert, where the driver have to leave us there and just find his way to escape. So we were there alone. The armed robbers, they attacked us, get all the money on us, so our mobile phones and other things, valuable things like that. So we were there, like, I talked to some people there. I was like, guys, why do we have to do this to survive? Now we are here. Nobody's with us. No driver, no coordinator, nobody. So what are we going to do to escape ourselves? Now we just have to keep praying to God. A lot of girls are even fainting already, like 2, 3 girls are fainting. I'm just trying to arrange them, to make them okay. But some people are even telling me, hey, you're on your own. Just make sure you are fine on your own. You don't need to. I was like, this is my brothers and sisters. Let's do our best and to make them okay. So later at night, the driver came back on its own. I was like, have they gone? We're like, yeah. They have gone. Okay. Where are the remaining people? Some people has already lose hope. Like maybe the driver is not coming back. They left with their barefoot, with their legs. They wanted to start trekking. So the remaining of us that were there with some people that I'm trying to compromise, that if we can't go forward, I think we should try and go back. I think that is better, because I don't think we can use our barefoot to walk to Europe. So then the guy picked us up again, and then we embarked on the journey. It's a very long story. Sometimes in the afternoon, the sun is very hot. When you don't have anything to cover your body, you just have to be there, just keep praying, and we keep moving and moving. We face a lot of challenges on the way. Sometimes when we get to a certain point where the little food they gave to us finished, we don't have anything to eat again. We're just there, hungry. So like I say, there was a girl, a very little young girl around like 18, 17 years old. She fainted beside me. She dropped. Nobody knew she has dropped. I was like, this girl is not breathing anymore. I'm trying to stop the driver, but the driver is not stopping. So then a lot of things happen on the desert. To cut the long story short, we get to Sabah. After 2 weeks on the journey, we got to Sabah. Then from that Sabah, we were truncate. And truncate means kidnapped. We were kidnapped by the Libyans people. We were put in a house. Then you have to start calling your people. If you have any number on your head that you can call them. Then they send you money. Then you can go. So I called my brother. Then I told him, now this is where I found myself. Can you help me? Then I think they try to connect back to that guy that connected me with the guy, but the number is not going anymore. That my friend that connected me then. The number is not going anymore. I think he has to off his phone because he already know what he has done to me. So I called my mom. They should help me if they can get some money to send so that I can leave the place. My mom is very broke. She don't even have that amount that we were asking. So I just keep praying to God. And one morning we were told that we need to go and work in the farm if you can pay the money. So we were on our way to the farm when God rescued me. because when we were on our way to the farm, some policemen stopped those men in Sabah that day, like they're trying to search and asking them, who are those people, where are they going to? They speak in Arabic, you know. So they were like, they want to work in the farm. So they were like, they have to give us some cutlass so that we can start working. They were talking to the policeman. That was how I talked to one or two guys. Said, bro, we can find our escape route now. This is the only opportunity that we have to escape from these people. And that was how we have to run from the farm to some forest. Then from forest, then like 3 days later, I found myself on the road, one route, then on the express. Then from that express, I got some Nigerian that I talked to that day. I was like, this is how it goes. I'm from Nigeria, like you. Can you help me? Then that was how I got someone that took me to an office, a place where I can start working. Because before I left Nigeria, I'm an IT student. I'm an engineer. I repair phone, I repair laptop, apart from my music career. So I think that was how I got a help. I stayed with that guy, that Libya brother, for like 3 months before they started war. They started destroying the streets of that brother. So then I have no other choice. I was truncated again. And that was how I got to the Mediterranean Sea. I worked for the Mediterranean Sea for like 1 week. Then that brother, on a very good morning, he joined me with those people that wanted to cross the sea. So that was how we got to the Mediterranean Sea. Then from the Mediterranean Sea, we spent like 8 hours when I can see like 100 plus. We're on this Mediterranean Sea. But what I just know is that 80% of us are Nigerian. So after 7 hours on the Mediterranean Sea, some are fainting, some are dropping, some are vomiting, pooing, some are, some quarrel, a lot of things, challenges on that Mediterranean Sea that I see with my eyes, that I confirmed with myself. It's really, really, really deadly. It's deadly there. So like 10 hours later, we got to rescue from the Italian government, and that was how I got to like 3 days on the sea with the Italian rescue. Then we were dropped at I think Italian. I forgot the name of that the states. So that was how I got to Europe. Then when I got to Europe, safe and alive, I looked up to my God and I promised myself that I need to tell this story to my Nigerians, my fellow Nigerians. Then when I get to Italy, I decided to do my thing. With the little way I can do it, my music thing, I try to seek for help. It's not easy there. It's not easy. When you're not from Europe, you're not from Europe. You are black, you are black. It's not easy. Our brothers are there suffering. Some are living on the ground. Some are, it's really deadly there. It's just deadly.
The route he's talking about is the major route for trafficking and smuggling. Nigeria, Niger, Libya. 94% of people who are either trafficked or smuggled or irregular migrant pass through that route. 94%. Algeria is very top because of the crisis. They were very top on migrants, so they started with Libya. I would like to say that mobility from Nigeria to Niger, once you have a ECOWAS passport, which is easy to get, passport, Nigerian passport, like the way he stated, he has the right to enter Niger without a visa. But our responsibility is to make sure that if we see sign of exploitation, you can return back the people. We have done, this year alone, highest, we have done 5,000 something people to be returned. The Niger government has also shown commitment this year that they are returning people who have gone. But
those people that migrated, they didn't leave yesterday. A lot of them have left for years, stuck in that detention center, in various detention centers since crisis broke out in Libya. So that point needs to be made.
I feel sad and I want to cry at times when I see things like this happen. But we have been trained not to lament, but to look for solution. For we as Edo State, we are most hit in this cartel business.
There's lack of information and awareness on the part of the people who are traveling out here to places like Europe. They think that life in Europe is so beautiful that once you get there, your life is made. And those who live there sometimes give the wrong impression as to what life is like. And so everybody is attracted to.
Well, that's one great deception that we have to keep pointing out to people, especially the youngsters who want to go on this perilous journey. Because if you do things right, imagine someone who has such great deal of work on his hand and is still sick, something like that. Well, 257 Nigerians were also deported back to Nigeria yesterday. Those are some of the things read in the paper. Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's see to some other scourge that is dealing with people within the community. Kidnapping remains one of the major security challenges confronting Nigeria. And Good Morning Nigeria took a look at the menace in one of our editions.
In 2016, there was a prediction by NDE, that's the National Directorate of Employment, of possible increase in kidnap cases last year. And true to that prediction, of course, 2016 was captured in some reports as the year of kidnaps. What would you attribute this? Is it a failure in applying the law, or is it just that Nigerians are becoming pushed by recession?
Thank you. Maybe we need to understand that kidnapping is just not one offense, and there's not one motive for kidnapping. There are political kidnapping, which is politically motivated. There are economic kidnapping, which occurs, we often talk about ransom. That is the one you kidnap for ransom. It is also linked for terrorism. If it was predicted in 2015 that there will be an increase in 2016, yes, there might be economic factor, but there may also be political factor. I want to stress the political factor. In 2015, you had an election, and you had a lot of people hired as thugs. And of course, but after the election, they link from their, paymaster. They had, the resources, which is the weapon to carry out kidnapping. They were not collected from them. So naturally, what we witness after the year of election, the cycle of election in Nigeria, is the tendency for arm-related crime to increase. At some point, maybe armed robbery. I think in 2016, it happened to be kidnapping. And of course, kidnapping is not just because of poverty. It is more because of the inequality. When people can't feed, and yet they see so much wealth in the hands of very few people, they begin to ask themselves, this cannot be the result of hard work. So they also want to kidnap from some of the wealth that people have kidnapped from the treasury of the government.
Let's come back now, and we'd just like to talk to Mr. Mike Ejiofor, who is the latest victim. Mr. Mike, would you consider yourself as a targeted victim, or is it one of those ransom picks?
I wasn't actually targeted. It's a random pick. This is the third time I'm witnessing that on that particular spot and road. I was personally witnessing. I was lucky on the two previous occasions because I wasn't picked. But this particular time, I wasn't that much lucky. Actually, I was coming from Delta. I went home. So on my way back, after Okene, between Okene, I think it is called Osara or something like that, between Okene and Obajana, we ran into an ambush, and people were shooting. We looked forward, people were shooting back, center, gunshots everywhere. Then I was already blocked. There was a trailer before me, and behind me, two cars already stopped. And I told my driver to remain calm. The third vehicle behind us wanted to escape, and the driver was shot on the head. He died instantly, and the two other people, I understand, died in the somersault. And the vehicle, according to them, my captors were relating to me. I didn't see it, that two people died in the process. Well, why did the man have to go and escape? So as we were talking, four of them, pointing guns to my four windows, rushed to my car, and I said, well, maybe I have to say my last prayer. But I still had hope. I thought they were robbers. So they just rushed into the car, took my driver, came to my side, took me. They simultaneously opened the four doors. Then they took myself and my driver. As two of them were taking us, two other people were there. They took my laptop bag, my iPad, my 2 telephones, and my purse. Took my driver's phone, and our journey started into the bush. They started pushing us that we should be running. For 30 minutes, we were running. And we got on foot, yes. Because they abandoned the vehicle each time they strike, they abandon the vehicle on the road and take their victims into the bush. So for 30 minutes, we were running, and at that point, my driver tried to escape. And they threatened to kill, and they started beating him with guns. And I pleaded with them that he would not escape, and I appealed to my driver to remain calm. So we continued our journey. First of all, you must know the kind of arms these people carry. 12 of them were fully armed. They had AK-47. They have these pump actions. This army gun, they call Kalashnikov or whatever, I can't remember the name exactly. Then they have shotguns, they have cutlasses, machetes, JAMBs, and the rest of them. So we'll continue our journey. After about 30 minutes, we'll now slow down. They now search my purse and ask me, what do you do? I said, I'm a lawyer. One of them had my identity card. He said, you are a lawyer? I said, yes. I said, yes. He said, what else do you do? I said, I retired from the State Security Service. He said, very good. We know you are police, and we're going to kill you today. Because police too, and the SSS, they have been killing Boko Haram. And this is our time, we will kill you. I said, you don't have to kill me, I'm retired already. He said, but you are police. For the first time, I pride myself as a policeman because I joined the police. But the first time I said, I'm not a policeman, no, I'm not a policeman. Please, I'm not. So, because they told me that each time they go out on strike, they keep policemen. And that I was lucky. That was later. That I was lucky I had no escort. That if I had escort, the first thing they do was to kill my driver and my escort before they take me. So I said, okay. We continued our journey after 2 hours in the forest. After 2 hours, he now said, that's your place of abode. This is where I'm going to sleep tonight, under the tree. And I said, okay, fine. But since you say you are kidnappers, because they introduced themselves to me as kidnappers, can I make a contact? They said, not now. So we laid on the ground. About 10 o'clock, they called me, so do you want to talk to anybody? I said, yes. They said, who do you want to talk to? I said, my younger brother. I said, okay, so I put a call across to my younger brother, and he said that my younger brother should produce 30 million naira now, or they will waste me. So my younger brother didn't appreciate the condition I was. You know, that I was being guarded by 12 armed people. They say, what if we give you 1 million? I told my brother, please, don't mention that kind of amount here before these people, that I will talk to them. So at that point, out of anger, they took the telephone, said they were not going to talk to anybody again. So we stayed there overnight. In the morning, they called me again. Are you ready to go? I said, talk to my brother. So when he started talking, right before me, I said, look, can you go and look for 5 million? Let me go. No amount is worth my life. But let me just get her. They got angry and said they were not going to talk to anybody again. And there we started another journey. Because when we sleep in one place or they make a call, from there, we'll continue again to nowhere. We trek and trek and trek and trek. We became itinerary cattle areas. We now became the cattle because they will say, follow that man. So we'll be following, we'll be being led, myself and my driver. We'll continue this thing so in the process, we had a lot of discussions. I now gained their confidence. They were talking to me. You see, these are people who operate in a very organized and structured cell. It's not only in Kogi.
What do you think could be the objective? Is it for ransom, basically ransom, or is it politically motivated?
Yeah, no. It's not politically motivated. These are Fulani gunmen.
Not herdsmen.
Not herdsmen.
Because there were no cattle with them.
No cattle with them. And in fact, when the real Fulani herdsmen sight them, they run away and leave their cows in the forest there. Because if you see the cattle rearers, the herdsmen, once they sight these gunmen, they will abandon their cattle and run away. And I asked them why. They say, no, don't mind them. They will just go and report to vigilante or to the police that police will not even come here. And if police comes here, they will kill them, that they are just afraid.
Well, that's anyone who's been through kidnapping or who's had that experience will tell you that it's a fearful, frightful and horrendous experience. It's not something that anybody should go through. And just recently, I think the 1 billion naira from the excess crude account was approved, and the vice president came out to say that it's not just the fight against Boko Haram, the kidnapping.
General insecurity. Yes,
general kidnapping, his specified kidnapping, and of course the general security situation hopefully will be taken care of in the coming year. In the course of the year also, Good Morning Nigeria pursued the lead of a claim by Professor Madueke Ezebe of the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture on the discovery of a cure for the HIV/AIDS virus. Let's take a listen.
Many human beings have you tried this drug, or has your group tried this drug on? How many in total?
Okay. I think not less than 500. But what we reported here, those 10 patients are the ones we reported that we sent to the journal for publication.
Okay. Now, when was the last time you treated any of these 10 patients, and what is their condition as of the last time you checked on them, if you did?
The last time they were treated, I think, was in September 2016. Now, when this January, I phoned the doctor, that's Dr. Aliu, that's a man in Abuja here, who's the person handling them. They're still healthy.
What is the reaction of NACA to all of this?
NACA is certainly not convinced that the claim for cure is valid. The claim for cure is clearly flawed. If you look at the study itself, if you look at the way the study was conducted, there was no ethical approval. They didn't go through the National Human Research Ethics Council. They didn't go through an ethical body. You cannot just say that you've done a study based on ethics simply by saying that you follow the Helsinki principle. That's not enough. And if we look at HIV, the way HIV is, when you have the infection, it takes a while before you become sick. So saying that you've taken healthy volunteers and they've remained volunteers is not good enough. I was reading through some of the articles yesterday, and some of the statements that were made, such as the patient didn't have detectable HIV viral load, and therefore this meant that the patient was cured, cannot stand in any academic establishment. And the reason why we think this is very risky is because you are dealing with an infection that is deadly. We are dealing with an infection where people die, they transmit the infection to their loved ones, to babies. It has a clear-cut public health impact.
You know, the first thing to say, Kingsley, is, you know, I think we would be the most excited people if a group of Nigerian scientists were to find a cure for AIDS. But, you know, science is universal. And these universal principles are there for a reason. So I think the first thing to say to Nigerians, because, you know, remember there are 3 million people infected by this virus out there in Nigeria. At the moment, there is no cure for AIDS. I think that is, I think that has to get out there. It's an unambiguous statement. There is no cure for AIDS. However, we've made tremendous progress since the 1990s and the 1980s, when the colleague you referred to, Dr. Abalaka, in 1999-98, when he made those claims and they got a lot of emotion around and people were desperate, there was no treatment. Now we actually have a treatment for AIDS that prolongs life, and people have a life expectancy almost as normal. We are making tremendous effort in government to bring in more people into the care pathway. That treatment is free to members of the public across public sector facilities.
All that he had done
was not in line with the global practice, best practice, when you talk about research. Yes, he said he did animal studies, but he is a veterinarian. And so his studies that he did with his animals, what he's quoting, for this particular publication to have been accepted, he needed to go back to the lab, pick animals that are meant for that study. For example, he should have taken mice or rats and start with them to look at toxicity, to look at metabolism of to look at pharmacokinetics of the drugs within the animal. And when you are sure that you are not testing whether it's efficacious, you are looking for safety and the properties of the drug. And when you are sure that this is not toxic to the animal, then you can begin to think about it. That is what is called the preclinical trials. Before you get to human being at all, then you start with the phase 1 trial, where you look for volunteers, people who do not have the disease, but who are ready to test the drug, so that you can test in them, coming from the background that the drug is not toxic to the animal. Of course, the animals should be killed after giving them. You needed to do what we call acute toxicity test, giving the drugs to the animal within the first 24 hours. Kill the animals, harvest the organs, take them under the microscope, and let the pathologists look at it. Then you need to take blood from the animal and look at the chemistries. Just like we human beings can do tests from blood, you can do all of that.
So much for medical science and claims here and there. Another interesting area that we looked into was the force majeure as declared by Discos as the distribution companies. This attracted the attention of Good Morning Nigeria during the period under review. Is it right for Discos to declare force majeure? Let's find out.
Greater detail why the Discos are declaring a force majeure and what that means in terms of going forward with your respective obligations under the privatization exercise.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, let me talk about the issue of eligible customer declaration, which was made by the Honorable Minister of Power, Works and Housing. Under the law, the minister has every power to declare customer eligibility, that eligible customer declaration. But the issue is not just about legality. The issue is more about the timing. It is expected that such declarations are made when the industry, when the sector is made whole, when the sector matures. Unlike some other people in the sector, we are not short-sighted. We are thinking more about the whole, not just Discos. So if you give me a business to run, if I buy the assets from you, and at the commencement of the privatization process, we sign some agreements, a performance agreement, share sales agreement, and in the agreement that we signed, the federal government was supposed to do A, B, C, and D, and we as operators, income investors, were also supposed to do E, F, and so on. If doing 1 to 5 is predicated upon, if doing 6 to 10 by me as operator is predicated upon the government doing 1 to 5. If they fail to do 1 to 5, then there's no basis for them to expect there to be 6 to 10. You cannot clap with one hand. And you cannot tie my legs and expect me to run. We are deceiving ourselves in this country. And it is time for Nigerians to know that the way we are going about this thing, there will not be light.
Why is government not complying with this right timing?
Well, I think first, I would like to speak from 4 perspectives or 3. 1, as a former regulator. 2, as a teacher of administrative law and a teacher of energy policy. Now, quickly, the minister has done what the Act authorizes him, which is at some point to, based on next guidance to declare eligibility for some classes of customer. I've seen the draft regulation NEC issued, or the regulation, and some argument has been that there was no or sufficient consultation. So 3 points quickly. First is that nothing has been done that is not anticipated by law. The law anticipates at some point there will be such declaration. Second point is that the discourse and every person in this industry, the transaction that happened in 1st November 2013, which is the privatization, was based on a key clause in that agreement that says everything is subject to regulatory changes. Now, what that simply means, and that's how it operates everywhere in the world, is that the regulator can come up with a regulation, provided it's good faith, provided it's within the power of the regulator, and provided it's done within the integrity of the industry processes. The third point, therefore, is flowing from this eligibility declaration, there are certain issues as to whether it inconveniences the discourse. 2 points I see is there are 3 categories of persons in that regulation. One is the distribution, those who take high voltage from transmission, the industries and big customers, those who are also on the discourse network, and those who also create their own transmission network, which means there's no network, but they can invest and create a distribution network to connect.
Just as the discos, they all had acquisition loans. They all had the same challenge as the discos are, the same challenges that the discos are complaining about. But the GENCOs have gone ahead to improve capacity. To the point that, as you have heard from Dr. Amadi, we have over 3,000 megawatts stranded. I have a contract to sell power, to generate power, but I'm constrained by by one part of the value chain who has decided not to improve its network. Now, I heard my colleague in the distribution sector saying that the sector is too young for eligibility to be declared. I want anyone listening to open to the EPSRA, which is the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act, Section 24, Subsection 3, Sub C, and Section 26. If you read both in conjunction, you will see that the Act makes provision that before the privatization, there are 3 classes of customers that should buy power from a generator. This class are 1, the bulk trader, which is NBET, distribution company, and eligible customers. So from ab initio, the Act makes provision that eligible customers should be declared even before privatization. So that makes their force majeure
notice.
Yes, the force majeure notice somehow. I would have called it a nullity because it's standing on illegality in my own view. Because the Act makes provision for it, that before even you hand over these power plants or the asset distribution network out, these are the 3 classes that should buy power from a generator. And so the fact that the minister or the government delayed to declare this particular class to buy power does not make it an illegal or untimely event.
The declaration of eligible customer is good, but the timing is wrong. And now that it's been declared, I'm saying, I've said severally, it will be counterproductive. It will be counterproductive for a number of reasons. 1, I've said even the law will operate as not less than 200 errors that will make the industry not function. I've been saying it for close to 6 years now. The law, the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, is counterproductive. It's not going to work. It's not able to drive the sector. And we're beginning to see a manifestation of some of the challenges of the law itself, both legal, constitutional, and a whole lot of things. 3, we need to ensure that the regulator is independent of the bureaucracy of government. Hi, Yemi, okay, I'm not able now, sincerely speaking, to see the difference between the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, and the NERC. I would rather assume a fusion of both, because the minister seems to be cutting the short, which should not be. Once you don't have a regulator that is able to advise the minister as a conscience of the people, then we're going to get it wrong. The timing of the collection is wrong. It's wrong to the extent that it's going to kill the discourse. And the GENCOs will also be taken out. There's going to be a kind of chain effect if that is allowed to happen. And Dr. Mahdi mentioned it in a subtle manner that maybe they should have advised the minister not to go that route for now. It's a regulatory, is an issue for the regulator, not a policy thing. The minister will say, oh, this is the direction you want to go. Then the regulator will say, okay, yes, as a neutral referee, we'll be able to advise government and the channel, the direct government policy. For eligible declaration, eligible customer to be declared, I think Joy is also wrong to the extent that she was saying that that ought to have been declared a long time ago. No, that's not what the law says. The law recognizes that category of customers. Nobody is denying that. But crystallizing it, the law also provides for what ought to be done. I'm saying those have not been done. We haven't had the level of consultation that will make it work. 2, the timing is wrong. 2, we are not at the level where we can say the power sector is competitive. It's self-sustaining. It's not. And 3, once we kill the disco, you are also going to have a chain reaction in the financing world. That's why no serious investor will come and invest in Nigeria, because we started on the wrong footing. And I say the previous administration made their error. The current regime is kind of perpetrating the error. We have to think differently and try to do things differently. And I'm saying the question of eligible customer is wrong. It's ill-conceived. The timing is not appropriate, and it will be counterproductive unless until we try to change the direction. Let's look at the law. The law is not working, and it's been implemented upside down.
So moving forward, are you likely to consider, some of these issues that they have raised?
Okay, yes. Definitely, we'll consider the issues that have been raised. If you remember, the federal government and the World Bank designed a power sector recovery program. I don't want to agree with Joy, that, it is all the disco's fault. No, that's not a right premises. We know there are challenges because we are implementing a reform that is quite complex. But just a little bit, Amadi was saying that, it was rushed. This reform started in 2000 and concluded in 2013. So 13 years rushing. So I don't know. But even at that, after we handed over, there are challenges that has arisen. So it is in the best interest of all stakeholders to get all these issues resolved. And that's why the power sector recovery plan, which is a very comprehensive plan, has been put in place. It will address most of these issues.
Well, that was a 2-day discussion, and I tell you, one of the classic moments we had on Good Morning Nigeria. Power is something that everyone is passionate about, and one thing we went away with from that discussion is Nigerians want regular power supply at an affordable cost.
Just as we want education.
All right, and talking about education, just as Bless indicated, now that was an issue that we actually took 3 days to, talk about, and worried by the state of education at all levels in Nigeria. Good Morning Nigeria assembled some experts on educational development, right from primary to tertiary education, for 3 days. Let's take a listen.
The quality of secondary education in Nigeria is down. It's almost dead. Schools have been neglected. Why did I say secondary school is an orphan? First, it is only secondary education that has no regulatory body. Even there is UBEC for primary schools. There's NUC for universities, the National Board for Technical Education for technical colleges, for polytechnics and monotechnics. There is the NCCE for colleges of education, but there is no regulatory body for secondary education. It's for all commerce. Secondary education, anywhere you go, there is a secondary school. Tomato sellers who have no good business have established secondary schools of their own. Nobody is regulating secondary education. Today, in almost all the secondary schools, including the ones owned by government, there are no teachers.
Sure. Do you share those views?
Well, as we all know, education in Nigeria, especially at the primary and secondary level, is on the concurrent list, which means that the states, along with the federal government, legislate on secondary education. So, and we find that the bulk of the secondary schools that we have are being regulated by the states. The federal government, on its own part, has 104 colleges, which are supposed to be models. They were established first and foremost as models so that others could copy from them, and then secondly, to serve as centers of unity so as to help in uniting the country. Well, over the years, we must say that there have been things that have come up, and certain things have not really gone the way they should. For example, at a point in time, state governments were owing salaries, and in fact are still owing salaries to teachers. And this discourages teachers. The teachers have not really been given their proper place in the society.
If we are to be honest, for example, many secondary school students do not even qualify for tertiary education. And that's one of the objectives of having secondary schools. Because, as mentioned earlier, they have not been prepared well. The teachers are not there. Even we have problem with the curriculum. So they are not prepared for tertiary education. And we have some of them dropping out of school. Teachers are not motivated to teach. Teaching has been made an all-commerce job. Those who are there, they're there because they don't have any other thing to do. So the passion is not there to prepare these students. And our curriculum needs to be restructured. We do passive teaching and learning. Students are not actively involved in learning.
First of all, I want to say that vocational and technical education is supposed to be an alternative route, not a route for those that are less capable. It's just a different type of education. But what is happening is that there is a poor attitude towards technical and vocational education, and because of that poor attitude is a vicious cycle. Many parents don't want to send their children to technical and vocational education, even though in terms of number, we have very few technical and vocational education schools. For instance, we have just about 21 federal FSTCs, that is Federal Science and Technical Colleges, compared to almost more than 100 unity schools we have in Nigeria.
Up to funding. Why do we need NUC, NCC, and NBTE? Why don't we scrap these three bodies and have one single body, a national commission on higher education? You are going to cut costs. You are going to cut the unnecessary dichotomy between HND and degree holders. You are going to solve a lot of other problems. So these are measures that I said, prudent management of the resources. There are better ways to cut costs than to increase school fees.
And that is why you discover that countries where education do very well have very little government intervention. If you look at Finland, Finland doesn't even have a federal ministry of education. It is funded entirely independently by its people, but they have, and they are consistently producing the best learning outcomes globally as far as education is concerned. They are currently top 5 right now. Now, when it comes to us locally, we can begin to look at what has happened in other places. For instance, the student loan program. I partly agree to say that, you know, the economic situation in the country will make it absolutely difficult for indigent students to go to school because they can't afford the fees. But government should be able to provide some kind of incentives on the loan program and allow people from university level to go on. I know that I think we have some sort of education act that ensures that children are able to go to school all the way to secondary school for free at the federal level. But going beyond the federal level, we should be able to have all kinds of funding options for young people and for parents as well.
You see, at that time, the government was funding education reasonably adequately, because if you are a poor child, your state government have a scholarship. Now local governments, in some parts of Nigeria, we know how communities were helping, how they generate money, hard-earned money, and support the brilliant ones among them for higher education. Now, for example, now how much state governments and local governments are committing to sponsor children of the poor? Practically none. And the children are not agitating for the parents for their right for those government levels to fund education, because if they do, then that means you will see some reasonable support to what the federal government gives without even the student or the parent himself being taxed to pay more. So there are those kind of things. Some philanthropists, well-to-do people, do take the responsibility of paying for their children and for others that are indigent. Now, what happens now is that you find the same university now, some of the students have a way of getting sufficient money to keep themselves, but they pay nothing, so the excess is put to all kinds of things. You see students that are having phones that are better than the lecturers, students drive cars, students go to socialize in areas where lecturers can't go. Certainly those kind of students don't deserve free education like the children of the poor.
Zero tuition.
Exactly. So you must begin to see those that can afford to pay, even in the developed world. If you are your income is reasonably high, you pay. But if your income is less, then of course there is one kind of support, like our guest in Lagos said, either it's a form of loan or some philanthropic...
It is disheartening to hear that graduates are not employable. But like we have said, the basic problem is that those facilities for the training are not made available. And people are not looking at it from a perspective that is rational. There is no way you will say that parents should come and contribute they are doing enough. When they say tuition is free, when a student goes to the university, the totality of his feeding is on the parents. The totality of his transportation is the totality of his upkeep is on the parents. Both. It is only the tuition fee that we're talking about. When you go, even his accommodation is totally on the parents. So the contribution of parents is very significant. But what we are saying is that at the end of the day, it is government that should arrange a situation where this institution should be funded properly. And that is going to give you the equipment that the students will.
Yes, that was one controversy on education, and I'm sure in smoothing that out, people felt they should actually talk out. And in talking out, the controversy over the Joint Admission Matriculation Board cut-off marks was also a strong issue for us on JAMB, the issues dealt with in the program in the outgoing year. Now, let's hear some of the highlights in this particular discussion.
Do we appear to have conflicting accounts as to what transpired, or adherence to the agreements reached at the August meeting with regard to setting the cutoff mark for admission this year?
It is a normal process for JAMB to have this policy meeting, and year in, year out, you sit down and you review depending on the performance of the candidates during the examination. So what is very normal to have a minimum, and then institutions have cut off from the very basic minimum. So it is not new. Actually, even when it was at 180 for last year, for instance, you have universities having 200, you have universities having 220. It is normal. But what happened this year is that it appears to me, because the outcome of the results, the outcome of the examinations was poor.
That JAMB suggests and recommends a baseline for admission, i.e. the cutoff mark. It's also normal. What has brought about the controversy this year
is the lowering of the standard. 120 simply means 30%. And I want to know whether 30% really amounts to a pass or a fail.
I will not be surprised that one day we will sit down at a conference to decide whether 2 + 2 is 4 or 5. We should now concentrate on making out of our own children international citizens, citizens of the world, not Nigeria. And now let me follow what Professor Kolo has said, the sad one. If you want to go to a teacher training institution, all you need is 100. That's 25%. Those are the ones who are going to teach who do not know. We have put in place people who do not know to go and teach those who do not know. We want to bring the generation of this, our country, that we in about 23 to 30 years will not be in any reckoning. Because if anything happens to education, we are finished.
There's nothing new. Over the years, institutions have been, deciding what to do with the students who enter the university, of course, with an eye on JAMB cut-off mark. What JAMB is saying this year is, tell us how low you want to go, or how high you want to go, and we want to streamline that. That's actually the point. And let us not forget there are some countries that don't have JAMB and admit students. The Senate of the university decides the criteria of admitting the students, and these students actually do well in the course of the studies. JAMB is a way of trying to streamline, a way of trying to control the quality of those entering institutions. And let us try to keep this in view.
All right, welcome back. And the JAMB cut-off mark and its impact on the education sector. That was one interesting episode. Well, want to say thank you to our viewers for actually tweeting at us at our NTA GMN handle from the beginning of the year up until now. Yeah. And we're still getting your tweets on our review. And the very first tweet is from Festus Akimboyewa. It says, thanks to NTA GMN and able moderators for raising discussions on topics that are relevant to us and our national development in 2017. I believe the discussion on Nigerians and slave trade in Libya opened our eyes to see the evil of illegal migration. I hope NTA will continue to discuss on this topic in 2018 to discourage Nigerians from embarking on this deadly journey.
This tweet is from Bola Nuga. Since NTA GMN came on air, I hardly missed the daily edition with the interesting topics and interviews being presented. Thumbs up to you, NTA.
Sakiru tweets, it says NTA GMN, the crew of NTA GMN are better than the best. The viewers appreciate your efforts and we are proud of your talents. You are all brilliant people. Your best is yet to come in 2018, and sure, our best is yet to come. Just watch out.
Thank you very much, Sakiru. Okay, from Abubakar Sadiq Ali is this tweet. The review of GMN in 2017 is really inspiring, informative and educative, especially to us, the youth, as you keep informing us about the dangers and gains in life. Thank you.
Festus Akimboyewa says the discussion on kidnapping was an eye-opener because it exposed the modus operandi of kidnappers. Sadly, kidnapping has become worse because of the inability of security agencies to effectively check it.
Okay, from Dele Jack Solomon, thank you for your contributions to the Nigerian project. All your topics aired live are spot on. We believe that all the episodes editions, including our contributions on Twitter to NTA GMN in the year 2017, will translate into making Nigeria a better nation in the year 2018.
And this one is from Chinagorum. He says, the anti-corruption war of President Muhammadu Buhari is so unique and robust such that the war has to continue. Kudos to NTA, especially the GMN crew.
Yes, this other tweet, part of what we did yesterday is that Aminu Modibo, I really enjoyed this review segment because from the first review of greatness, I learned that Nigeria can be great again. And also, it continues, what a great memory to behold. In fact, the release of the 82 Chibok girls will be unforgettable. We are hoping to see the remaining girls in captivity released in 2018.
And also from Hamidu Modibo, it says, for me, the 2 years of the Buhari administration is one of the best topics on NTA GMN. This one is from Abdullahi. Abdullahi tweets, he said, we must thank God Almighty for the coming of this government because it touches all sides of our lives. Today, talking of fighting insurgency, corruption, and many others. Those were part of the reviews that we had yesterday. And the final one from Chinagorum says, the commitment of the president to successfully sign treaties with global communities on repatriation of stolen funds was exceptional, as highlighted in your review segment. What a memory to behold. Those are the tweets that we're having right now. Remember, you can still be a part of this review. Just continue to watch. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, our edition on the fuel scarcity will be on. We'll be back in just a moment.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Everyday air. Ordinary air. And then there's TomTom air. There's air, and then there's TomTom air. What are you breathing? New TomTom 5-piece pack.
Now we were just as concerned as you were when we noticed the fear queues again. So we titled this particular one, Fuel Scarcity Again. That's what the title of the edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Now, let's take a look at what went down in the discussion.
Why are we having fewer queues all over again in the country?
As I've said, it's not far from the usual practices of some unscrupulous marketers who would like to use this festive season to extort money from Nigerians. Where we are selling this product to them at 117 naira per liter, they themselves in turn, they are not importing, but they have turned around to be selling it to the IPMA members at exorbitant prices. So that's one. Secondly, what has aggravated the panic buying and the queues was also a callous plantation of information in the social media, to the extent that we plan to increase fuel price. And we have no that plan to do that. So from that perspective, we really think that people should not panic in trying to go and waste their time queuing at filling station, except where it becomes necessary.
Are there petroleum products in the country, particularly petrol?
At the moment, we have over 25 days sufficiency of petrol. We have 30 ships of imports coming, on average one a day. We have 2 refineries working, Port Harcourt and Kaduna. We have strategic reserve, which we stored in anticipation of any potential shortages in some of our depots. So, as far as we are concerned, there's enough fuel in the country.
Chief Abasalasa, what is the story?
Well, I think the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, for which you know, the retail outlets cut across the breadth of outlets of Nigeria, we have 80% of the retail outlets. 80%. So we are major stakeholders in this downstream sector. But our problem today is that the tank farm owners, I didn't want to say the dark man, some tank farm owners, when the PPMC gives them allocation at 117 to at least to sell to independent petroleum marketers, because they have their tank farms. We don't have tank farm. To warehouse this product and sell to us at 117, that is the price they will get it from NNPC, because they are not importing. NNPC is the sole importers of products of this PMS. And instead of these people selling it to us at the appropriate price, the approved PPP ROE price, which is at 133.28. That is what NNPC do say to us in their depots. Instead of selling to us at that price, when this product gets to some of them, they will end up in selling it higher above the price they're supposed to get it to independent petroleum marketers. Instead of selling to us at 133.28, we will end up in buying it at 140 something. So what is the problem? The problem is because we, as independent petroleum marketers, we are not part of the distribution exercise. We need to be part of the distributions.
It's obvious that there's some form of conspiracy and manipulation, and your agency is in charge of regulation and supervision. So what is happening?
Well, thank you very much. Well, what is happening as of today, first we try to look at the problem from some few weeks back when we observed some kind of lapses. And of course there were complaints from the marketers that they are being sold product not at the approved or benchmark. So we waded in quickly. We asked them to bring evidence, but it was like they were reluctant in coming forth with evidence. And when we investigated further, they say what happens is they go in, pay the official price, and then someone asks them to pay something from to a different account which is not known. The IP man is here. And we have to engage them. We now develop some kind of template. Okay, as a marketer, if you are going in to pay for your product, this is DPR template. Fill in this document so that we will know the actual price you have paid to at the tank farms. They did rather, some of them, but instead of reflecting the true price they pay, they still go ahead to reflect the actual, the benchmark price. So it became very difficult for DPR to get, who are the culprits. We had to again design another means. It has happened sometimes in 2015. So we use some measures, and we are beginning to see what is actually happening between the marketers and the depot owners. But their complaint did not even stop at whether it is just private. And we don't have to limit, as a regulator, we do not have to limit our investigation at the private depot. We also try to look at the PPMC depot. But of course, it's we can't barely trace much to PPMC depot.
So are you saying that you are finding it difficult to fish out the people who are, the tank farm owners who are responsible for this?
Yes, we actually need the cooperation of the marketers to come up with evidence. Then it's clear, you made payment, you know who you made the payment to. So just give us an evidence. This is the slip I paid, even the one you pay into your private account. Just give us a slip. And from there, as a regulator, we'll definitely take action. But that is not actually to say that is even the major issue that we could say is responsible for the current situation we are finding ourselves. When we discovered some decline in the truck-out, yes, I will agree with the PPMC MD that we have sufficient product to carry the country along. But also, when you notice this kind of situation, you need to double up your truck-out.
Well, that's an issue that we're still dealing with. There have been assurances by the Ministry of Petroleum that all of that will be over by this weekend, and the weekend is actually begun. All right, on Good Morning Nigeria also, we're examining the federal government's resolve to enforce the no work, no pay doctrine as part of measures to restore industry harmony into the public service in the country.
We are dealing with a situation where, fine, there are no redundancies have been declared. Workers are at work, whether in the public or private sectors. They are going to work, but they are not being paid. And then, of course, they have their own agitation, and then they said, okay, fine, we will embark on either a warning strike or, a full-blown strike. And they say, okay, the employer says, listen, no work, no pay. So that's the cardinal focus. And some states now, we are hearing workers saying that if there's no pay, then they won't go to work.
Well, you see, it is really a vicious circle. It is a vicious circle. There's no way, or there's no reason why a workman is not due his pay. The law doesn't permit you to owe workers. 30 days is the maximum days for you to make due with a shortfall. And so, but if the employer breaches that, the worker has a way of asking the employer to pay. You declare a trade dispute. There is an issue. The law captures it. The Industrial Relations Law captures it in section 4.6. You write to your employer and then you go back, you sit on the negotiation table. When you discuss and you fail, within 7 days of failing, you approach the labor minister. That's what the law says. And when the labor minister gets that case, he is apprehended the dispute. He will bring both parties to the table. And he will get, when you apply, you will say the steps you've taken in the settlement. The minister will look at it and either appoint a conciliator for you, is in the section 6 of the Act, or apprehend and take over the discussions and look at every step and then make peace. If it's somebody who is not paying, he will be able to show us why he's not able to pay. We'll look at the books. We'll look at the books. If we genuinely find out that he cannot pay because of his books, the workers will also see it. And in that case, you now apply this principle of redundancy as in Article 20. Which I have already enunciated to you. But for state governments in particular, we do not see why they cannot pay. Government frowns at it. That's why the federal government has continued to give them bailouts and oxygen so that they can be able to do this. And like somebody said, there's no reason why government should not come down on the expenditure. Frivolous expenditures, travels that are not necessary with big retinue, and so hiring of jets, for a state chief executive. So some of these things are things that can be shed off. If you shed them off, you'll be able to pay.
The procedure for the resolution of industrial disputes in the Trade Dispute Act is anachronistic. It is very inhibitive. It does not facilitate quick resolution of disputes. In fact, experience, like the honorable member has said, has shown that it's actually a merry-go-round exercise. That at the end of the day, before you go through mediation, you go through conciliation, you go through the arbitration panel, the tribunal, and then ultimately to the NIC, a lot would have happened. These are not procedures that you finish in 3 months. They are not procedures that you finish even in 1 year. And so it is very, very unhelpful for the resolution of industrial disputes. The trade disputes settlement machinery needs a total legislative overhaul. You see, these are statutes that had their origin in military dictatorships. We have since translated into a democratic system of governance. And all over the world, the right of workers to embark on industrial disputes, to embark on strikes, is actually one of the major indices of a democratic system of government.
Well, that was one discussion too that held our viewers spellbound. Now, looking at the remaining tweets we have gotten just now, let's run through them. From Abila Kwara Zakshi, the most interesting topic for me this year is modern slavery in Libya. Reasons that over the years African leaders have failed.
Husseini Danjuma tweets, he says, today's program is really the last for the year. Well done, NTA.
For Fresh Ahmad, his own tweet says, well, for me, education was one topic I enjoyed, especially when you discuss the state of tertiary education in Nigeria. We're bringing the VCs of BU, NSUK, and the rector of Katpoli on board.
And this one is from Chuks Ojinta. He says, good morning, Nigeria. I say a big thank you to you for this wonderful weekly morning program. I've learned a great deal from you guys. Wishing you the best of 2019.
18, I meant.
2018.
He said 19, actually. That's fast. Olusegun Dosumo says, thank you, NTA, for being a catalyst of nation building. However, this is a challenge on you to beat this record next year. We hope to do that.
Mohammed Hassan Zakaria says, I enjoyed almost everything you discussed on the program.
Olusegun Dosumo again. Good to see you, Rhoda. Where have you been? Blessing Abu, thanks for filling in. Blessings to all of you. One thing is sure, Kingsley, Claire, Rhoda, blessing and all. You guys are the heroes of the year 2017. Please revel it. Thank you very much.
And this one is from Engineer Kanu Emeka. He says, please, I'll appreciate Save GMN can be replayed later in the evening for people like us who go to work before 8 a.m. Actually, there's a playback on NTA News 24 at about
5:30. No,
5 p.m. At about 5 p.m. So you probably need to get to start times.
Sure. Okay, quickly now, that will be all for the review. Now we'll take a look at our complimentary segment. We'll just take a look at sport. Now let's quickly join the Nigerian Meteorological Agency for the weather outlook for the rest of today.
And here's the weather forecast for Friday. There's been an improvement in horizontal visibility, especially over the extreme northern parts of the country. And it is expected that the central cities down to some parts of the inland will be in dust haze conditions in visibility range of about 2 to 5 kilometers throughout the forecast period. Partly cloudy to cloudiness are likely over some parts of the south. However, we've observed the northward pull of the ITD, which resulted into increased cloudiness, and this is expected to give rise to some localized activities over some parts of the coastal cities. Talking about some parts of Lagos, Calabar, Eket, Yenagoa, and some parts of Port Harcourt axis. We strongly advise that the road users should be careful and avoid overspeeding, especially during the early morning hours when our horizontal visibility is mostly impaired. Thank you for watching. I am Joyce Ogunleye.
And that's how it's been on Good Morning Nigeria for the year 2017. We'll be back again in the new year. Thank you to everyone for watching. I'm Rhoda Anonam. Good Morning Nigeria returns at 7 a.m. on New Year's Day. And blessings.
That's Monday, so don't make it from far. Yeah, we had a wonderful time. And knowing that we had your viewership, we actually kept ourselves working. So let's do it again in the new year. My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you in advance.